when Barack Obama came into office, the banks and corporations were failing, as they all fell under the control of the Vatican, and now the Vatican was shut down due to the lawsuit. Barack Obama, without authorization from Dr. Henderson, signed off on the bailout when he bailed out all of the banks and corporations. That was the Sovereign Civil People's Rights Trust that was set up as the World Trust to reset the global financial system. Well, on May the 1st of 2013, Dr. Henderson and our fiduciaries submitted to all 198 nations, plus the U.S., because it's not considered a nation, the master sequester of the planet to find out where those funds went and to have it all returned. All of the nations have now returned their response to them that none of those funds ended up in their nations. The only one that has refused or has not yet submitted is the so-called U.S. Well, the master sequester was signed into law and became the budgetary authority in the U.S. October the 5th of 2013 under House Joint Resolution 85, Section 101B2, which states that the presidential sequestration of March the 1st of 2013 became the budgetary authority. Well, it was signed into law then. You can find that information under the timeline of events, which is on the homepage of our website, the sovcpr.net, and it lists several documents embedded in that particular document showing how everything was put together lawfully and in order. Now, on July the 4th of 2016, both the World Treaty, the Covenant Treaty of Amexem, which is the 198 Nations Agreement of Peace and Friendship, and the World Constitution were given to the 198 nations by Dr. Henderson and signed by several honorable judges, scribes, International Council of Disciples, and Native American chiefs. This covenant holds the title deed to this planet. The World Constitution was created after a model of the original Constitution penned by Dr. Henderson's great-grandfather, Colonel Richard Henderson. Now, we have a very unique problem, family, globally, that so many people are moving, immigrating, migrating from one place to the other, many of them without documentation. So that's created a huge problem of non-compliance with the global Know Your Customer laws. Several states in the U.S. have even passed laws providing undocumented or unidentified immigrants with driver's licenses. So that's negatively affecting the entire global entry system. So identification now is paramount. Indexing is in compliance with Know Your Customer laws and transparency. Now, the new digital ID with the star or the flag is now required by all state, federal, international embassies, police, hospitals, etc. It is necessary for your identification to have that star or the flag on your ID. If you do not have it, you're being classified non-productive. The system is actually working against you. Therefore, you've got to be indexed to be removed from the jurisdiction of that old system. Now, the people in the so-called United States, if you are calling yourself a citizen or a sovereign citizen, under the work done by Brian Levy and Barack Obama, they put together a list of a terrorist watch list. You're on that terrorist watch list. The nations already understand that anyone calling themselves a citizen of the U.S. cannot possibly be so because the U.S. is not a nation. Therefore, if you're traveling internationally, a lot of times now, nations are not allowing people with so-called U.S. passports into their nations because they know that that nation does not exist. So you're already classified non-productive because they cannot truly identify you. And all non-productive people are being exterminated. The indexing process is the only thing that will truly identify you to the world and remove you from that extermination or destruction. Now, there are 4 trusts overseeing the reset of this planet. The principal is known as the Melchizedek. Our global fiduciary has been placed as the principal over that trust. Under that is the Sovereign Civil People's Rights Trust. Dr. Henderson is the trustee of that one. This is the World Trust to reset the entire planet. Now, there are 2 trusts under the Sovereign Civil People's Rights Trust. One is known as the Rhoda Trust, which is the amnesty for any of the global criminals who want to bring back what they've stolen from mankind in repentance. And then the other one is what we're indexing everyone under, which is the Bathsheba and Esther Trust, which Dr. Henderson and I are co-trustees of. Now, through Dr. Henderson's blood and historical documents, he has been able to prove to all 198 nations that he is the bloodline of King David. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the covenant of salt, but it's actually written in Scripture, and it's a covenant between God and King David. And it states that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and he gives it to his children and his children's children as an eternal covenant. Because Doctor has been able to prove that he is of that bloodline, he was able to receive the covenant of salt as heir. So he not only has the right to use the 4 trusts of the global reset, but he's able to use the assets of this entire planet to back the new digital financial system. Now, what exactly does indexing provide for everyone that is indexed? It identifies you to the world as a non-combatant or non-enemy, where they respect you as a righteous person to live under the 5 divine principles of life, which are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It puts you on a do not detain list from international police, which is known as Interpol, down to your local police department. It gives you internationally recognized diplomatic status under the International Protected Persons Act of 1973. You are then known as a sovereign principal.
Rise and shine.
Yes, sir.
I know you're on the. I want to say rise and shine to everyone on the call. You're in a certain position right now. You're at a point where I know this might seem to the people like it might be kind of a interference of what I'm about to do right now. But I'm actually not going to interfere with you. I want to say something while you are at that point of what you're talking about right now. So, rise and shine to everyone. Right now, the benefit that everyone has with what you're talking about, you know, from the different agencies, the different would-be so-called authorities, and all the things that are going on. I need everyone to focus on something that's happening right now in the United States of America. And we do know this is the United Nations call. I want them to focus on the fact that President Donald Trump this last week, we can say now for about 2.5 weeks, he has been using the National Guard to police up the Washington, D.C. area. You are aware of that, correct, host?
Totally, and he's moving into other state cities as well.
Exactly. That's why I kind of chimed in on you earlier today, and I will let you go ahead and finish up with what you're doing. He's also just done that, I would say, just as early or as late as last evening. Mm-hmm. In other words, about Sunday and Saturday, he was working on the city of Chicago. And so now the Chicago mayor just today was pleading with him to let him know that he do not need any assistance in this area of policing up the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois. But I can assure you, what everyone needs to understand is what they're receiving through what is known as their indexing. As you're talking about right now with Interpol and all of the agencies around the United States of America, such as the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the CIA, which is known as the Civilian Investigation Agency, which it was set up to actually do nothing more than intervene to save Americans from having to deal with that. But at the same time, it was actually set up, and it had become nothing more than a destruction for the whole entire United States of America, whereby FBI Federal Bureau was set up to protect and to investigate those that were outside of the United States of America and protect America from outside interference. And at the same time, it began to do nothing more than inspect and investigate the people that were inside the United States of America, to include our agencies as well. So this is what's happening now. And President Donald Trump really didn't set all this up. And this is where I want to make sure, as I chime in on you today, I want to say that people must understand that even though one known as President Barack Obama was able to take the whole entire world's trust, it was set up for the entire world. It just wasn't set up for the United States of America. It wasn't just set up for any would-be nationality or any would-be so-called group of people that would have been classified in any would-be tribal unit. But it was set up for the whole entire universe. And it was classified the world would-be trust, the people's world's trust. This is what was set up by Dr. Henderson. And at that time, everyone on the planet recognized that it was for everyone. It was for everyone's ability to find themselves being stable in this life in which we call it for humanity. And yeah, it was then, believe it or not, there were presidents that were there even before Barack Obama, such as we had George W. Bush Jr., as they called him. We also had one that was classified as would have been William Jefferson Clinton. This here was set up all the way back to presidents such as Ronald Reagan and one known as Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter. All of these presidents were part of this would-be set plan to save the people over a world's trust or a people's trust. And believe it or not, it came about where it came all the way down to 2000 and would have been 8, where it was already given an opportunity to have its place. And by 2008, believe it or not, it would have been placed in a position where all the people would have been set free. It would have been set free. 2000 was that time frame. Everyone was set back to net zero. Everyone was given the opportunity to start all over again, debt-free. The bill of Jubilee was given at that time. And that's what it was all about, and I wanted to say that, and then I'm going to let you take it back over, my dear host. It was given that time where it was called the global reset at that moment, where it was known to the whole world as where it was saying that the world would shut down and it would start all over again. That was Y2K. That's what that was all about. And everybody there that was part of it, and I'm saying that was the whole universe, that the people that, we have a lot of people that have died off since the time of 2000. We've had a lot of people come to the planet. We had a lot of people go. And some of our workers that we have now, our staff, they just born in 2000. They birthdays are 2000. And so they were just coming on the planet during this time. We're talking now 25 or going on 26 years ago now, whereby the world was to be set free. It was to be debt-free. Everyone was to be thriving now, living a wholesome, healthy life. And here we are, rushing now to complete something that would have been done 25 years ago. And we are rushing to complete it because right now there's no way back. And it's also now, this is the prophecy. The prophecy says that it will be done quickly, with nobody able to stop it. No one will be able to transfer it to any other location. It will be completed. So we're really wrestling right now, watching the people constantly now rush to get themselves identified. And I'm saying to everyone that's out there, don't stop. You have to let your neighbors know, let your friends know. They got to get indexed. They must identify themselves because immigration is picking up as well. By the minute that I'm talking, immigration is beginning to bring people in for cases. They had a case of trial this week past based upon immigration. And as they call themselves, the NPR spent a lot of time in court. The NPR did. They spent a whole day in New York in immigration court working on immigration cases with ICE, Immigration Commission. They have been doing this now, and for all of you that are not aware of it, I would tell you to start paying attention. And it's really sad now, if I might say, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over, and I'll come back later. But I need you to understand that right now, today, I will explain and express to you guys, after the host have completed her mission of giving you some information to get you knowledgeable of what's going on. But you need to really pay attention right now because we have NSA. NSA is really your national security agency. We have your FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. That's with our would-be Cash Pateo, your would-be so-called advisor. And all of these people now are telling you something. And the National Guard, that is, as it's being set up now, you need to understand again, I say, as far back as 2000, they had started something known as martial law in the United States of America. And martial law never took its place in 2000 because George W. Bush, he himself, he protected you from it. By the time it came around to Barack Obama began to allow you to be turned over into the hands of martial law. So now what Donald Trump is doing is he himself is making sure that what Barack Obama was allowing he's now saying that we have to implement it. We don't get a choice. That's what he's doing. And that implementation is where you get your National Guard. That is your military. And that is what your martial law is all about. Now, the reason Donald Trump is using your would-be National Guard is because he's actually doing it through a state level rather than your would-be so-called government federal level. And pretty soon he will have to turn that over. And then I can tell you then you're going to be under the United States military. Now, here's how it works, and then I'll give it back to you, my dear host. And I will come back later. The way that works is we need to understand that as you place National Guards over different cities and over different states, they're going to be placed over, and I'm talking about the militaries and National Guard. They will have to switch positions and places because they will not allow the National Guard of, let's just say, Chicago to police Chicago. They will go down and they will take the National Guard, possibly even from a state like Alabama, and have them come up and police the city of Chicago. And the reason why that is because they don't want the familiarity or realizations of those that live in the city. They don't want your cousin coming out and being the National Guard. They just don't believe he's going to do the proper job of policing you up, and thereby you'll get some would-be so-called easy way out of having to comply to the law. So what they do is they take the National Guard from one area, take it to the other area, and they switch them out, whereby they would get the true, as they would say, the true authority in the area that won't give you any would-be leadway or leniency. That's what happens. Now, the reason I'm saying that, before I take and let her take it back over quickly, listen to me, because they do that same thing with the military. When they place armies over it, what they're going to do, and I don't know if any of you been paying any attention to your military bases around you, but you got several different militaries that are on your particular military base, your area. Okay? You got those that are from India, soldiers. You have Russian soldiers. You have soldiers from Japan. You have soldiers from China. You have all types of other soldiers that are on that same military base in your states now. What they will do, you more than likely will have Japan or China or even France soldiers that will be policing up your area. And those American soldiers will be sent like they are now to a place like, maybe Great Britain over in London. Or they might be sent to a place back like Afghanistan. But they're not going to be policing up you because you will be people that they will be familiar with, and you will recognize them, and they will recognize you, and a lot of them will give you leniency rather than to fully place upon you the law in which would be required. So thereby they won't get the opportunity, they don't get that chance to be able to police you. They will be sent outside of their state, outside of their country. And those other soldiers will be sent outside of their country, and more than likely they will be policing you up. That's the way martial law works. And that's where the danger comes in at. Because you won't be on anybody's identification records. And whereby those people, that's all they're looking at is the records. They're not going to be able to recognize you or be familiar with you. And if you're not on those publications or those documents that they have, you're going to be exterminated. I yield it back to you, and you can take it from there, my dear host. And I do, again, I want to say to you, if you felt any kind of way of me crashing in on you, I have to bring it out to this point where I believe in making things totally simple and simplistic form so people can understand it, and at the same time in a form of central where we are, here and everybody's in one area. And we call that synergy. Synergy and simplistic works together. So I want to make it simple for the people and do it in a synergized way where everyone can hear it at the same time, where no one has an excuse to say, well, I didn't know how it works, because they know now. I yield.
Awesome. I was actually hoping that you would do that during this call, so we're on the same sheet of music, sir. Thank you for that. Well, family, we were just talking about what indexing provides for you, and I'm going to reiterate a little bit of it because he just gave you a very clear understanding of what's happening real time right now. So it identifies you as a non-combatant, non-enemy. And under martial law, being a non-combatant, non-enemy, and having that status literally can mean life or death for you. Again, if you are indexed, you're expected to live under the 5 divine principles of life, which are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Oftentimes on these calls, you will hear him or myself say to you, sit down, stay out of the way, pop your popcorn or grab you a brownie and your favorite beverage and watch the show. Key point, stay out of the way. So what your indexing does is it puts you on a do not detain list from Interpol, which is the international police, down to your local police department. It gives you internationally recognized diplomatic status under the Protected Persons Act of 1973. You become known as a sovereign principal once you are indexed. This does not make you a sovereign citizen. You cannot be sovereign and be a citizen. You are a sovereign principal under your Creator, Father Yahoshua, who breathed life into you and gave you your rights at that point in time. So again, you cannot be sovereign and be a citizen. They are diametrically opposed to one